I just got done watching Spy Kids Armageddon, the brand new Spy Kids film for the next generation of kids coming to Netflix this week. It's out as you are watching this review. And well, it's about the children of the world's greatest secret agents who unwittingly help a powerful game developer unleash a computer virus that gives him control of all technology, leading him to become spies themselves to save their parents and the world. Directed and written by Robert Rodriguez, who has very much created this entire Spy Kids world. He's made every Spy Kids film, and, well, I haven't been a major fan of the last few things Robert Rodriguez has made, but I grew up on that first 3 Spy Kids film. I say it this: one of the greatest days of my life was coming home to the 3D DVD of Spy Kids 3D Game Over, and having the 3D glasses and all sorts of things like that. I loved the franchise when I was younger. And I was really hoping that this one was going to bring it back on board, because Spy Kids 4, that was not a thing. Let's just forget all about that. But in preparation of watching this movie, I actually dove back in and rewatched the first 3 films right before this. As a point of reference, I will be actually doing a Spy Kids ranking of the entire franchise, so do look forward to that. If you're watching this review the day it's coming out, it should already be up the next day after that, Saturday. If you're watching into the future, that ranking is already up. I'll put a card or a pin somewhere up above around me. With that said, Spy Kids Armageddon, I enjoyed this film for what it was. It was actually surprisingly good, and I think watching the original 3 films and seeing what I did grow up on and not having rose-tinted glasses while watching them kind of really put a whole thing inside my brain, is that Spy Kids very much are for kid films. And no matter what you think of Robert Rodriguez as a director nowadays, I think when it comes down to directing kid films, he can make very entertaining things for children. And Spy Kids Armageddon, overall, as a whole, is very much the original Spy Kids film kind of remade, but instead of a children's cartoon show, it's a video game. So in a sense, kind of imagine Spy Kids 3D meets Spy Kids 1's story plot. It's about what the story is like, from little Easter eggs to little nuances, and maybe he was doing that on purpose. It very much is the exact same story as the first film, except for a couple differences here and there. Before I really start diving into this and talking about the performances and the new kids and the next generation, I definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts down below in the comment section. Are you excited for this movie? Are you not? Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button before you leave, and without further ado, let's dive into the pros, because that's the #1 thing I like talking about. And while this film was not perfect, I still enjoyed it. I think if I had kids, they would probably think this is like one of the coolest films they've ever watched, as I thought the original Spy Kids trilogy was one of the coolest film series that I had ever watched. Starting with the performances, of course, we do have to talk about the parents, because they're the ones who raise these children, and that's who I want to start out with. And we have Zachary Levi and Gina Rodriguez. Now, if you haven't followed my channel for a while, I'm a pretty big fan of Zachary Levi. I'm very biased to him when it comes down to certain things. Shazam, Chuck is one of my favorite television shows of all time, and in here, he's good. Gina Rodriguez, good. I thought their chemistry was decent, but honestly, nothing will ever surpass Antonio Banderas and Carla Gugino, who I thought were just stars, fantastic, and great additions to the original Spy Kid film. So take that as what you will. After watching that original trilogy, it's going to be really hard to break their chemistry, and I think that those films, specifically the first one, did a really great job setting up their love story, where in this one, it's fine. They're pretty generic characters overall, and you really only cheer for them because they are just fun characters along for the ride, and that's about it. There's nothing more to this family, and I do think the family dynamic as a whole is good, but I would have actually liked to have seen a little bit more of it, per se, specifically before actually getting into the entire missions. I think that's where we need to get into the main part of it, which is the kids that we follow around, which is Everly Carganella and Connor Esterson, who plays Tony Torres and Patty Torres. They are a brand new next generation of Spy Kids, and I have to say that I thought they were absolutely adorable. I thought they carried really good charisma to them. I thought they were entertaining. And again, if I were a kid today, I could imagine being like, I want to be like them. I want to be a Spy Kid. When I go back and watch the 4D one, I don't get that same essences. And I don't like shitting on child performances. I don't think that was the kids' fault in that film. I think that was more of just a script overall. But definitely these kids had a little bit more of an essence. And I think it does help that, of course, they are technically remaking the first original Spy Kids film here, even though it all takes place in the same universe and the same franchise as a whole. I really think they were great, and their essence and their bond with one another is probably one of the best aspects, and I think is the reason that they work so well in here. And of course, Billy Magnuson plays the villain in here, which he is great in anything this guy does, but he is fabulous in here. He's just going and hamming it all up, and it really works, and again adapts back to what the first Spy Kids film had. And I like when they ham this stuff up. I like when they have fun with it, and I like when it can be cringy and cliche a little bit, because that's exactly what this franchise is. And I think as a parallel, is this as good as the first 3 films? Absolutely not. Not at least for me. But I do think that the film does carry a fun essence to it all that you will enjoy. Because my thing about this is, the first 2 acts, they're enjoyable. They're entertaining. They're about what you would expect. Some cringe moments, some things that maybe won't age as well in the future. Just like how the first 3 films don't really age at all. If it wasn't for my nostalgic glasses, I would probably think those are some of the worst films I've ever watched. The 3rd act of this is actually pretty damn fun. And not to get into spoilers or anything of what it really entails, but I thought it was awesome. I sat there smiling. I actually laughed a couple times. And again, if I were a kid, this would be like one of my new favorite films of all time. And I've been pretty critical of Robert Rodriguez using green screen over the last few children films. It just seems like he's addicted to it. That Shark Boy Lava Girl spin-off kind of movie they had with Pedro Pascal was not great whatsoever. But again, I thought he used a little bit too much in there. In this one, either the production design and the visual effects were a tiny bit better, or they really much more fit for the themes of what they were doing, and I overall dug it. Honestly, the action in that 3rd act, I actually might argue, might be my favorite set piece out of all the Spy Kid films, at least as a 3rd act priority. Game Over has a lot of fun moments, even if the visual effects are old, and I still really love the 2nd film, specifically because of all the different monsters and creatures, but there's just something really cool about it, and I wish I could talk about it, but it would be a spoiler. What makes this film not so great? And I think a lot of that is just more development. I thought the first film did such a great job establishing the parents, establishing the kids, and making us fall in love with everyone involved, and in this movie, it all does feel a little bit rushed, kind of just assuming that we already know what the Spy Kids montage is, and I wish they would have spent more time on that. At the same time, I wish they would have spent a little bit more time on the villain himself, Billy Magnuson, who I thought was great for this, but very one-dimensional. I'm not saying that I needed anything more dimensional to this because it's a Spy Kids film, but it would have been appreciated. But it's about exactly what you would expect this film to be. It's better than the last one. It doesn't reach the heights of the first 3, mostly because I probably just have nostalgia for those. And in the end of the day, I watched this and I was entertained. I was surprised. I honestly thought I was going to be watching a piece of crap, and I didn't. I enjoyed what this was. I just wish they would maybe infuse a little bit more into it, and maybe Robert Rodriguez shouldn't be the one to direct these films anymore, since he has been directing all of them. I understand they're his passion project. I just think there's a little bit more of a nuance to it all. Pretty much Armageddon is Spy Kids 1 meets Spy Kids 3 3D Game Over. It's an enjoyable, entertaining film that I think you'll walk away from going, that was fun. I enjoyed it. Literally the next generation of Spy Kids films. I think kids today will enjoy it. I think parents can tolerate it. And I think for me, I enjoyed it because I grew up with the original ones, but I wouldn't probably ever watch this one ever again unless I had children to show to my own. All that said, I'm going to give Spy Kids Armageddon a C+. Thank you so much again, guys, for watching this. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe button, comment down below your guys' thoughts, and look out for my Spy Kids ranking coming up very soon. So, of course, until next time, stay classy.